Hilchah Shluchim V'Shutfim Perik Chi. In this Perik, the Rambam discusses the dinim of a shvua b'taina sofik. Normally, a shvua goes b'taina zvade. You know, a shvua is made of mikzas. So he's taining vade that he owes him money, the other person is denying that he owes money. So in certain cases, there's a chiv that the nitva has to swear to the teveya. Shvua is made of mikzas, shvua is eidachad. Also, the Rambam holds that it has to be with a taina zvade of the teveya. Now, there is a shvua heses, and many other shvuas. There's always with a taina zvade. Then there's a din that in certain cases where even though the Teveya doesn't have a Tainus Vadi, he's not saying that he knows for a fact that Nitva owes him money. But the Teveya claims that he's not sure that the Nitva doesn't owe him money. In other words, there's a reason to suspect. And the reason is because this Nitva was someone that used to deal with the Teveya's money. He used to deal with the Teveya's money, and there's a chash that maybe he was made a het and he felt that he was deserving of part of that money more than he really deserved. Because but he thought that he deserved more. So in Mela, so the Tevei is claiming that he wants the Nitva to swear that he's for sure that he didn't take any money, that he wasn't rightfully his. And that would be a Shutif or an Aris or someone that worked in someone's house, someone that was like a manager of someone's house, or someone that dealt with your money, with the money of this Teveya. So he's not a Teveya b'taina zvade, he's Teveya b'taina sofik. Yes, Perik Chi. Hashut from Kulam, people that are partners, or Vaharisim, someone that's a sharecropper, or Vapetrupin, someone that's a manager, Sheminu Esom, Bezna Yisem, that he's managing the Yisem's affairs. The Bezn appointed him that he should work on the Yisem's affairs, which we'll learn Behemshech, that if he was appointed by the Aviyah Yisemim, the father appointed him before he died, that he should be Memuna, so then he doesn't have to swear. Masha'inkin, if he was Memuna, they Bezn, or Vahisha, Shenisaz, V'nisanas B'dechabayas, she was also working with things in the house, and she was in charge of things in the house, that she was selling things in the house, or buying things in the house. Memela, she was dealing with money that belonged to her husband. Or Shehishiva Bala Chaminis, or he had a store, and he put her that she should be the storekeeper. So Memela, she was taking money in and taking money out. So Memela, she was dealing with money that belonged to her husband. Or a Ben Abai is someone that was in the person's house, and he also was dealing with the Geshefni, he was buying things for the house. Let's say a butler, you would say a Ben Habayis, is Kol Echad Mielu Nishba B'divreyim B'taina Sofik. So when there's a Taina Sofik, you know, Samazin doesn't have to swear. But if the other one Tainas, that by me is a Sofik that maybe you owe me money, so B'taina Sofik Shem Gozel Chaverib Masomatin. So in other words, he's taining him, maybe you stole from me something when you dealt with me. So either he's being choshim that maybe he mamish stole something, that's a stronger chash, and there's another chash that you are medaktik b'cheshbon. In other words, you didn't make exact cheshbenis, and memela you still owe me money, and I want you to swear that you don't owe me any money, that you don't owe me any money, that you know about, obviously. Why did the Chacham institute such a shvua? Notice, normally a teveya is taining a tviyah, so we say, "Einodim teveya elim ken yeshlei." So memela is a chiv shvua. Masha'ingon over here, he's himself not taining a tainus vade. He's taining maybe this person took money that wasn't his. Maybe he didn't make a proper cheshbon. Maybe. So why should we reckon it with the maybe to be mechayiv the nitva shvua? It says mipnei she'elu meiden la'atzmam. Because this maybe is not stama maybe. These people that are chuyav shvua are people that are capable of being morin la'atzma, they made a het to themselves. Shekol ma sheyikchu minichse balamois royulam. So that they feel that they're entitled to it. They worked very hard. So even though there was a certain deal that they made, but they feel that they worked very hard, and therefore they're entitled to more. So there's a chash that they may feel that they're entitled to more, even though they normally are honest people. But over here, when they're working so hard, so memela they feel they're entitled to more. So therefore the Chacham instituted that even a taina sofik the mechuyev to swear. Whereas the fact that they know that when this person will come along with a taina sofik, and that'll obligate them to swear, so that'll encourage them that they should do everything properly. Either that'll encourage them they should do everything properly. Memela, that person will never be choshid. In other words, if there's like a reason for that being person choshid. In other words, that person doesn't have to say why he's choshid. He just says he's choshid. But if they do, he can see that they're very honest, so maybe he won't be choshid them in the first place. And secondly, if he will month from them, so Memela they'll be giving a proper shvur. So Memela they're going to make sure, because they know of this din, that through that this person can be mashbiah them b'taina sofik, so that'll cause them to do all their kteshiyasu kol maseim b'tzedik v'amunah. Halacha beis ve'en kol echad me'elu nishba b'taina sofik ad sheyachzir hamashbiah oisem b'shtei kesef. Now the din is by a meideh b'miktzas that a meideh b'miktzas only swears if there was a hidoy in a pruta and there was a kfira b'shtei kesef. So when does he have to swear under the Raisa de Keshvua of meideh b'miktzas? Only when the kfira was in shtei kesef. So therefore, the Chacham instituted that you have to swear for a taina sofik. So over here also it has to be that there is a sofik in shtei kesef. In other words, this person is tiny. You see from here that this person not tiny, it's maybe. He's tiny that there's a shad. He has like a shtickle shad. He has a shad that maybe he went ahead and took money shalikedin. Now, if Lepel, he knows that even if he took money, it was a very minimal amount. In other words, there was no chance that he took shtei kesef, because that he would have realized it's only a minimal amount. So then he's not justified in being mechayev mashvua. They have to ask him, how much money do you think it's possible? Are you choshid that maybe he stole? It's not like he stole. It's your choshid maybe he stole. So you have to ask the person, how much are you choshid that maybe he stole? So if he says maybe he stole shtei kesef, so then he has to swear. Mashiach, if he says if he stole, he only stole one kesef. I know how much I gave him. I know how much he gave me back. The most I could be choshid him is maybe only on one kesef. So in so such a case he doesn't have to swear. That's his din. Ve'en kol echad me'elu nishba b'taina sofik at sheyachzir mashbiah oisem b'shtei kesef. He's choshid that maybe he stole shtei kesef. Shehein shtei moni shel kesef k'mei she is born tei minuten. Aval choshid b'pachs mizeh. So then there's no din of a taina sofik, of a nishba al taina sofik, if we're dealing with a sofik about less than shtei kesef. Now mikan heirer abeisai. So since Lepel was saying that he has to be choshedim, and he has to be choshedim for shtei kesef. In other words, it's not stam there's a din, he has to swear because of a taina sofik. There has to be a chshat. In other words, he's claiming that he's choshed, that maybe he took from him shtei kesef. You have to know how much are you choshed. Even though he's not taining a tainas vade. Mikan heirer abeisai. Shemesh shutav echad. If one of the shutfim died, now they're splitting up the shutfas. And now the Yoirish is taining that if my father would have been here, he could have insisted that the Shutiv should swear Tainas Ashvuas al Tainas Suffolk. So over here also I want the Shutiv to go ahead and swear what my father could have caused him to swear. So he says, Mikan Heirer Rabbeisai, Shemesa Shutiv Echad, Eina Yerish Yochel Ashbia Shutfi Shalom B'Tainas Shena. He can't go ahead and cause the other person to swear b'taina shema. Why? Shari eni idea davar shechashde be'aviv. He doesn't bevade. The father has to have a kshat. It's not stam maybe. There has to be. If it's a maybe, so how could you speak about shtei kesef? Maybe it could be who knows how much. Masha'inkin, when you're talking about shtei kesef, means what's the kshat? There's a certain kshat. Shari eni idea davar shechashde be'aviv bevade. K'dei sheyachshad eisi ze ayerish v'dei kesef. Knows he doesn't know what the father was chesed. Even the father maybe was chesed, maybe he wasn't chesed. And if he was chesed, how much was he chesed? So in Mele, you can't go back and say, listen, maybe my father would have chesed me for shtei kesef. I mean, if the din would have been that he always has to swear b'taina suffix, so then there doesn't have to be a chesed. Then the pshat is that since there's a suffix, he has to swear. But over here they were saying that he has to be chesed. How much is he chesed? So the Yoirish can't say how much the father was chesed. He doesn't know what the father was chesed. That's what Rabbeisai said. That's what Rabbeisai. That mikan heirer Rabbeisai. V'yesh misheira shemashbia eisei ayerish b'taina shema. That he does swear b'taina shema. Ukazer roi lodin shari Yorshim. We see Yorshim as being a seisha shnas apetrupa b'chayi baila. If a Isha was a apetrupas b'chaya baila, so the Yorshim could insist that she should swear that she didn't take anything, even though they don't know any chash, they don't have really a clear chash, but nevertheless, lepel, they have to tanino liyerish. So a tanino liyerish also this chash of a vada. It's the shaila is what's the gather of taninon as well. If the gather of taninon is taninon mamish adin shema, or taninon is also if the father would have been here, maybe he would have taninon tainas vada. But I'll call upon him, the Rambam paskins, that Lepel, if a shutif, there was a shutif with someone, and Lepel, that person died, and now the Yarshim could insist that this shutif should swear this shvua, which the father could have mashbiyah them b'tayna safek. Others, Rabbi say, held not like that, because they held that they don't really know what the father would have been chaysh to them. And the Rambam passes not like that. Just like we see that an Isha that was an apotropos b'chai baila, so she has to swear to the Yarshim. So al derech zeh, everyone has to, a Yishutiv has to swear to the Yarshim. Halacha Daled. Afal pi she'en shamedim, shezeh arisa yeshutvei, elohu meide b'peyatzmei, v'omar shutvei arisa eben beisi ani. So you have two people. Reuven comes in Steiners that Shimon was his shutiv, and Memele he wants Shimon to swear. There's a suffix. Maybe Shimon took money from him. Now we don't really know that Shimon was Reuven's shutiv, but Shimon is made. He says I was taka his shutiv, but Lepel I don't owe him any money. I never took any money from him. I never took any money shalikadin. I don't want to swear. So l'churi has a migo. He could have said I was never a shutiv and then not be chayiv shvua. Because you never chayiv a shvua. If it's not a shutiv, there's no din of a tiny suffix. But once he's made it that he's a shutiv, and the rule is that you don't say a migui, lifturi mishvua. So Memela, once he's made it that he was a shutiv, he has to also swear b'tayna suffix. That's this din. Aval pi she'esham edim shezeh arisei ishutfei. There's no edim that he was an aris or a shutiv. Elehu made him in piyatzme. You know, the person comes along and says he was my shutiv and he was my aris, and therefore I wanted to swear b'taynas suffix with a tayna suffix. And this person's taka made who made them in piyatzme v'omer shutvei arisei a ben beise. And it's true, I was taka his shutiv his aris or ben bayis avali gazalti klum, and I don't owe him anything. So the din is nevertheless harei ze nishba b'nkitas chayfetz. He has to swear the tayna suffix b'nkitas chayfetz because it's the shvuas hamishna she'ein eimer migo lepotri mishvua elo lepotri mamas. That's shittas Rambam that we never say migo lepotri mishvua. We only say a migo lepotri b'mamen. And since over here it's a question of a shvua, so he has to swear. That's this din. Then the Rambam continues. We said that a ben abayis also has to swear with a tayna suffix. What does it mean? Ezu ben abayis. What is a ben abayis? Sheyesh lo lashbiyei b'tayna suffix. What would constitute a ben abayis that would be mechayev him to swear b'tayna suffix? Zeh shemachnis peilim umeitzi peilim umachnis lepeiris umeitzi lepeiris. In other words, he develops. He's a person that's not stam be masada the house inside the house. He's actually selling things in the house, buying things for the house, hiring workers, paying workers. So mainly he's dealing with money that belongs to the Balabayas. Aval ben Abayis she'ein nesim v'nesim. He's a person that doesn't really deal, he doesn't handle. He's a person, let's say, he's Masada of the house, a person that cleans the house or he sets up the house, but he's not selling anything out of the house, he's not buying anything, he's not hiring people, he's not dealing with the money. So over here, the chashash will be what? That maybe he just took something, that would not cheshish. That I'll call upon him, you can't go ahead and be mechayev a shvua with a tayna suffix. Aval ben Abayis she'ein nesim v'nesim. He's not working with the money of the person. He's not selling and buying, hiring, or elenichlas beragla v'yetzibul. He just comes into the house and goes out of the house. Is eini yochel lashbiyeh misafik. He can't be mashbiyeh misafik. So that's the number one. A ben Abayis means someone that's dealing with money that belongs to the balabayis. He's selling, he's buying, he's hiring. So Memela over there is a chashash that maybe he took something shalekadin. Masha'inkin, if he's not dealing with any money, he just comes into the house, maybe he has work in the house, but on the other hand, he's not dealing with any money of the house, so then there's no din of a tayna suffix. We learned before that in apotropos of Yisemim, you also mashbir b'tayna suffix, but that was only in apotropos that the bezdin was mamana. V'chein apotropos shemino avi Yisemim is eina Yisemim mashbir neisa b'tayna suffix. If the avi Yisemim was the one that was memana this apotropos, so therefore he's not obligated to give any shvua b'tayna suffix. V'chein ho'isha, a wife, shelenasis apotropos b'chayi baila. She wasn't apotropos, no, she wasn't involved in buying and selling in the house. She wasn't apotropos for the house. No, she lived in the house and she worked in the house, but on the other hand, she wasn't dealing with the money of the house. And after her husband was buried, she wasn't doing any business with the money of the house. Ein mashbi'in esim misofik. Now, even though lepel, what he says, acher kvarasa, knows v'chein im nose v'nose b'misa ukvura is also a mashbi'in al zeh shenishtamesh b'misa ukvura. Knows nachamal, a woman that she was dealing with the money of the house, and now she was a patrupis on the Inyoni Abayis, or like the Rambam said before, a chenvanis. She had a store which the husband owned, and now she's coming. The Yisema could be mashbiah her b'taina sofik that there's nothing that really belonged to their husband, which really now belongs to them. That's by her. That's din number one. So that's this din. If she is not patrupis, al derech zef, let's say she dealt with things of the house after her husband died. Because even when he was alive, she wasn't dealing, but after he died, she was dealing with it. So then also they could tie her that maybe she did some things, and some of the money that she thought she was entitled to, that she wasn't entitled to. However, if Lamoshel, she didn't do any dealings while the husband was alive, and she also didn't do any dealings after the husband was buried, but she did do some dealings between the husband dying and the husband being buried, which means she went ahead and took some of the items that were in the house and she sold it in order to pay for her husband's burial. So that she doesn't have to swear for. Why? Because if the din is going to be that she's going to have to swear, if she does it, so may hold her back from doing it. Through holding her back from doing it, so her husband is going to lie and not being buried properly or soon enough. So therefore, Chachamim instituted that for that activity that she had in the money of her husband, between her husband's dying and the husband's burial, for that she doesn't have to swear a tainas suffix. That's his din. V'chein im nosev v'nosna bein misa ukvura is then emash bein al zeh shenishtamesh bein misa ukvura. She doesn't have to swear a tainas suffix on that money. Why? If you're going to say she is going to tishava, is leitimka likvura. She's not going to want to go ahead and start dealing with it because she doesn't want to have to swear. And v'nimtza mes misnavel, so it's not nice for the mess. And memela, therefore, the Chacham instituted that part, that is askus of hers, between the misa and the kvura, should be potter from being mechayiver to swear al tainas suffix. Halacha, hey. So till now we're talking about people that are actually shutfim, an oris, an isha. Now I'm saying, hamishaleach biyad chaveri chefetz lemachri. Someone gives someone an item to go sell it. Eshishalach mois biyade liknis leperes ischera. He gave him money to buy something. Peres ischera is aval pishali nosim lischar. He never paid him for it. He asked him to do him a favor, to do something, to sell something for him, to buy something for him. And this shliach is not a partner here. He's doing a favor to the Baal HaMois. There was something, money, that belonged to the original owner, and he was dealing with that money. Is Areza Kemembayis, so therefore he has a din of Membayis, even though he wasn't really a partner and he wasn't being paid for it. He was just a person that was being asked to do a favor to sell something on someone's behalf. And therefore, so he gave him money to buy things for him, and he's not getting paid. Or he gave him items to sell, and again, he's not getting paid. And now he brought him back the money, or he brought him back the items. And the question is, did he use all the money, or did he bring back all the items? And was there anything here that maybe that monies that don't really entitle to the shliach, that the shliach kept? That's the shayla. So even though he's just a shliach and he's not getting paid for it, but lepel, since he's dealing with money that belongs to the original owner, and lepel, there's a chash, there may be a possibility that he that has money that doesn't really belong to him, so you could be mashbiim b'taina sofik. Halacha vav, hashutfim shenoisen v'noisen b'yachad. Those partners that deal together, echad noisen v'noisen. One of them was the one that deals with the business. Aber umafkid aschera imiktsasa, but he deposits either the schera or part of the schera, a hamois or the money, imasheni b'lei mishka b'lei mida b'lei minyan. So Memele, he gives him money, deposits money in his possession. So Memele, it's possible that person kept some of the money not rightfully. it's possible. So then, harishneim nechnasim l'safik. So say the person that's dealing, the one that's actually dealing with the business, buying and selling, so he goes into the safik that maybe some money went into his possession that really is not rightfully his. And even the other person, which is not dealing with the business, but it was only things were deposited in his possession, and he had access to the money and to the items, so Memela is also nechnasim l'safik. And therefore, either of them could be mashbeh the other one. And those one could be mashbeh the other one. Not necessarily the one that's swearing is going to be mashbeh the one that caused him to swear. Because he's not chayshish the other person. He is chayshish the other person. So that's talking about if they both have access to the money. Both, one is doing business, one of them the money is lying by him. There was one person that was doing business, and the second person had no shaykhs to it. He was like just an investor. Because he invested money with the misasik, and well, we had before. So the person that dealt with the money was the misasik. So then, only the person that was actually dealing with the business, he's the one that has to swear. Mashenki, the other person that wasn't dealing with the business, so Memela, there's nothing to be choshishim that may be misafik, some of the money that's not rightfully his stayed by him. Now this din that a shutif has to swear, is the pshat is when they're dividing the shutfas. In other words, they're both shutfim, and now they're dividing the shutfas, or before they divided the shutfas, or they're about to divide the shutfas. So now one of the shutfim is claiming that the other one should swear. But what happens if you have shutfim, or he was a sharecropper, and now everything was dealt with? The shutfim divided their shutfas, and the aris was paid, and now all of a sudden the original the owner of the field comes along and he says that maybe the aris took something from me. Or one of the shutfim comes along after they divided the shutfas and he says, maybe the other shutfim, I'm choishish, maybe the other shutfim took something from me. And Memela, I want him to swear. So at that point in time, once the shutfas was divided, once the aris was already dealt with, he was paid, everything was finished. So at that point in time, you can't go back and start being mashbeh him with a tiny suffix. That's this din. Halacha zayin. Cholku hashutfim v'harisin. The shutfim and the harisin divided amongst each other. Or v'nizgar sheisha, the woman got divorced. And v'nifrid mi'olav ben Abai is the person that was dealing in the house and buying and selling, he was separated. And now v'hevele ashliach schera shekonale imoy shemachali bam. And he brought him the money or the schera which he's supposed to give him. That's the case of the shliach, where he sent a shliach. There was no shutiv. He was someone that he sent to buy something or sell for him, and that person brought it back. And v'shasak. So at that point in time, when the shut from the Darisim divided, the woman got divorced, the Balabais, Ben Abayis left, the Shliach came back with the item, he was quiet. V'holchulam, and v'leitovim miyad, and there was no tviyah. Now he wants to come back. Now he can't come along and say, maybe you stole from me, maybe there was monies that weren't really rightfully yours that ended up by you. But if he had a tainas vada, if he has a taina, he says, I know for fact that you owe me money, is then mashbiya Allah. Then he can be mashbiya on this tainas vada. And once you have a taina, and you have a shvur, a chi of shvur, so then there's a principle called gilgul shvur, that you could carry over the shvur for other things. So notice, when a person owes you a shvur, so then you could insist that I don't want you only to swear for this, I want you to swear for something else as well. So lepel, the shutfim come along and saying, to go over to a person that was once your shutf, and you already divided the shutfas. And now you're going to that person, and you're saying to the person, listen, we divided the shutfas. At that point in time, we divided the shutfas. I could have asked you for a shvuas misafik. Lepel, I didn't ask you. But right now, I was neseder that by me as a safik, maybe you owe me money. And I want you to swear a shvuah misafik. That you can't do. Because Lepel, the shvutzis was divided. You were kilu meichel on that schus to be teveya shvuah misafik. But only while you were shutfim you could mon. Well, before you divided. But at that point in time you can't mon. Once you divided, you can't mon. But now you have another taina. You feel that person owes you money. A tainas vade. So Memela, from that tainas vade, you could also develop that I want to have a shvur that you didn't do anything for me when you were in Aris, when you were shutfim. That's this thing. Avalim hoisli tainas vade. Mashbir on the taina vade, and then umegalbug kol mashiyirtze, and also this taina sofik. V'chein im nischayev l'shvua acher zman, knows Hoisle Tainus Vade means could be on the Shutfus as well. All of a sudden he realizes that he has a Tainus Vade on the Shutfus, a Tainus Vade on the Arisus. So now he could also be Megalgal the rest of the Shutfus or the rest of the Arisus. And V'chein, Nischayev L'Shvu Acher Zman, if later on he has a Chiv Shvu, Ben Shel Teira, Ben Shel Devreim, now all of a sudden they develop a situation where this Shutiv owes him a Shvu, a Shua Lachersman, again Shnasli Shutiv, a Ben Bayis Pamacheres. Now he became a Shutiv again, or he became his Ben Bayis Pamacheres. So now he can insist that the time of now, that you don't owe him anything misafik. Because since he became a Shutiv now, and he became his Ben Bayis now, so right now he can mund from him a Shua B'Taina Sofik. So once he can mund with him a Shua B'Taina Sofik, is Areza Yochel Legalgal of Shleik Zaltani, B'Shut V'Zusha B'Neim, that he's swearing that you didn't steal from me the Shutvas that we now have between us, and also V'Leik Shal Yisa Shutvi Arisa Ben Basi the Apetrupas B'Rishein V'Chein Kol Kietz Misa. So either if he has a Tainas Vadai, he has now a Tainas Vadai, so with the Tainas Vadai he could go ahead and be Megalgal this Tainas Sofik, or he has a new matzav where he has a schus to have a Tainas Sofik and Monashvor. So once he can Monashvor with this Tainas Sofik for something else, so he could also mon with the Tainas Sofik for the Shvur for the original matzav of when he was originally a Shutf. Halacha Ches. So we learned that Shutvim that divided, they divided it already. So Memela, so they no longer have a din of Shutvim, and therefore one Shutv can't, it's kilo like there was Meichel, and Memela, one Shutv can go ahead and mon from the other Shutv a Shvua B'Tainas Sofik. But if Lepeli has a Shvua B'Tainas Vade, there was a part of the Shutvis that is a Tainas Vade, so from that Tainas Vade he could be Megalgal, a Shvua B'Tainas Sofik. Or if later on there is a matzef where there develops a right to mon B'Tainas Sofik, the Mashal becomes a Shutif again, so he could also be Megalgal, the Shvua of this Tainas Sofik of now, with the Tainas Sofik that it's going to have later. So it's right now, since they're no longer Shutvim, they could no longer mon a Tainas Sofik. Masha'inkin, once he becomes Shutvim, so then he could mon a Tainas Sofik, and once he can mon a Tainas Sofik, a Shvua B'Tainas Sofik, so Memele he could also mon a Shvua B'Tainas Sofik B'Tur Gilgul. Now, what's considered the divided the Shutvis? So this is halacha ches. Hashutfim shecholku. Shutfim that divided the Shutvis between themselves. But there's still other people that owe them money. People owe them money. So nevertheless, even though people still owe them money, so there's somewhat of a Shutvis still going on, but Lepeil, that doesn't justify that one Shutif should be able to ask the other Shutif for a Shvua B'Tainas Sofik. Why? Shari Cholku, because Be'em is the Shutifs they divided already. Someone owes them money. V'achev shenishar dove yidu. It's a known thing. So there's really no partnership. But they were partners together. They owned items together. They had geschäften together. And now there's people out there that owe the money. So you have to make a cheshbon. How much money do people owe? And whatever the people pay, so it goes 50-50. So that doesn't really involve any shutfis anymore. That's already, it's kilo like, it's divided already. That's what he's saying. They know what the chev is, and memele b'chol ma sheyifru yikar zeh chelkim min hachev zeh chelkim min hachev. V'chein im nishel hamois b'kis. In other words, they divided the shutvas. They own a store together. They own schera together, and they divide all the scheras. But lepel, there's still money left in the kiss. There's money left in the bank. There's money left in some type of a wallet. Ukvar yodu, they knew about that money. That money was never divided yet. There's money lying somewhere, and that money was never divided yet. So you can say, well, so the shutfis is still there, and since the shutfis is still there, so therefore one shutf could be mashbiah, the other shvur shutf with a tainas sofik. You say no. Ain't mashbiah zezeh. They can't be mashbiah zezeh. Shamois kechalukanim. Because the money is considered like the divided, just like the money that is owed is considered like it was already divided. So the money that's lying is also divided. They made a cheshbon. In other words, Reuven and Shimon are shutfim, and they made a cheshbon among themselves what Reuven took, what Shimon took, and it came out at the end that Shimon really owes Reuven a certain amount of money. Even though Reuven never paid Shimon. He never really actually paid that money. They came to the Maskana that Ruvain owes Shimon a certain amount of money. But Lepel, Shimon never got the money. So the din is Harei Cholka, that's also considered Cholka. Avolim Nishir B'neim Kol Shimon HaPeiros, but if they still own certain Peiros, which has to be assessed, their value and has to be divided, they don't really know how much it is. And therefore, and they didn't divide it. So really, they still own something together. There's a certain part of their partnership that they don't know really what it is. By the money, he said, they knew how much money is lying. They knew how many chayvas it is. But there's chayvas that we don't know exactly how many chayvas there are. So there's chayvas that are owed to the shutfas. We have to make a cheshbon how many chayvas there is and how much we'll divide. There's money lying somewhere, but we don't know exactly how much money. We have to make a cheshbon how much is the money and make a cheshbon to divide. So then that's vadayin lichol kvesim liyodim mishkol eishen nishabenim sad min hashutf shliyosu becheshbon for liyodim kolechem em kam bechelkem again. Each one doesn't know really what's his. So then harei hashutfes kayamas hadayin, and therefore mashbein zeh. So now the ikir is, while they're shutfim, there is a din that one shutf can mashbia the other shutf with a taina sofik. That's the din. There's nishba b'taina sofik. But that's only as long as there's a shutf. If there's no longer a shutf, he can't be mashbia b'taina sofik. The question is, what's called a shutf? So if they divided their assets, and there's some assets that's clear what it is, it's money that they know what it is, that's money that's owed to them, it's clear what it is, and it's just that they never divided it, or they ended up knowing exactly that one of them owes money to the other, so he didn't really pay back that money, but it's clear what the deal is, so everything is finished. So then that's considered they divided the shutvis, and B'meila is no longer entitled to this shvua, which a shutv is entitled, which is a shvua b'taina sofik. Masha'inkin, if there's some of the shutvis which is not yet clear how it has to be divided, there's still some peiros which wasn't assessed clearly. This money which they don't know exactly how much it is, or a chayv that they don't know how much it is. So then that's considered their shutvim, and they're still entitled to a shvua b'taina sofik. Halacha tes mi shetaves chaveri ache chaluka eini yochel hashbia ela yedei gilgul k'mei shebiyarnu. He could do it through a gilgul shvua. Avol yesh lo lahachrim stam al mi shegozli klum kshohay shutvei eyarisei ben beisei v'leyed mashegezel. And that's really a takonis hagainim that the Rambam mentioned, that you can't force the other person to swear. The tiveya with betaina sofi can't force the nitva to swear, but the tiveya could give out a certain chayrim, is machrim. He says, if anyone owes me money that really he's not entitled to, if someone has money that he's not really entitled to, if he got through the shutfis, so therefore he should be muchrim, and it's like a certain type of klola. In other words, it's something which the Go'anim instituted that could be said and declared in order for that person, if he's taka not being honest, he should admit.